I've got a fish. Just trying to get into the snags here. But I think I've got him out. And it's a carp. Okay, so that's what I've just caught. It's taken me quite a while to even just get any fish today, but I had to fish right on the edge of where the fast water hits the slow water. That's definitely where the fish were going to be. This one proves that that's the case. And the thing was that I tried everything, but it was garden worms that really made the difference. So there we go. This one I'm going to take home, I'm going to cook. So I'll let you know how that goes. And if anybody else has caught a carp and cooked it and it tasted okay, let me know. Well, I've filleted this carp now, the carp that you saw me catching. And I took a couple of fillets off it and I'm going to use them for different things. So I used, there's a fairly largish fillet that still with the skin on and everything like that. Fairly clean. I'm going to use that for some other things, and that'll be the subject of another video. What I've done now is I took some very small pieces because I'm going to be eating this, and because I know that you can eat it because other people have eaten it. I have eaten it when it's been prepared by somebody else. So a friend of mine cooked up some, he caught a couple of large carp, he cooked them for me, but he wouldn't tell me what type of fish it was. In fact, he gave an Italian name, which really threw me. It sounded something really exotic, and but it was great. It was really, really nice. But I mean, it was heavily laden with sauces and things, so that was a little bit hard for me to work out what the fish was. But I must say, it didn't have a bad flavour. What I'm doing now, though, I'm going to go about as lightweight as I can on this fish. I'm going to basically cook this. I'm just going to put it in a saucepan and I'm going to quickly fry this and just put a bit of salt and pepper on it. I want to taste the absolute flesh, but I'll just show you a couple of things about it. First off, when you cut a fillet, like I've done there, you see it looks quite nice and white, but you'll see there's some blood areas up the top here. As you try to take the fillet off, you'll find that those blood areas, the red areas in the flesh, they can be quite deep and spread as you get underneath the fillet. So the fillet might look clean and pink on one side. On the other side, it can be really red. And that red stuff is the stuff you really can't eat. Now, I know that people do eat it. I have met people that actually use it to make soup. They've actually made casseroles and stews with the fish using that. But somehow they prepare it in a way that doesn't cause the taste to be that way, or maybe they disguise it with a lot of flavours. And so when you're cooking it, what you don't want is, I've cut this piece off. See that red stuff there? That red flesh there is what gives it that really muddy taste. If you look on the other side, this didn't look quite as bad when I started because there is that sort of the pinker flesh on that side, which is okay to eat. But of course I had to get rid of that because that red flesh goes through it. This is the type of thing that you're looking for. You want pieces that look just like that, you know. So I'm taking a couple of very small pieces here because I want to eat those, and if it doesn't taste good, I don't want to spend a lot of time chewing and swallowing. In fact, I'll be spitting. So I'm going to do that in a second. The other thing was that with some investigation, I found that they actually make carp skin leather. Now, I was wondering how that would work, but then I thought, well, you know, maybe it's the same, a little bit the same as things like snake skin and stuff. Anyway, I took the skin and scales off that fish, and with the skin on it, that is really firm, but it's actually the look and feel of this is really very much like snake skin, and it doesn't look too bad. Like the contrast around each of the scales and that makes it look really quite interesting. So I'm not going to be wearing this anytime soon, but I must admit it was interesting just to take off the skin and everything and end up with this. And I can see how they would actually turn that into leather, or a form of leather. All right, I'm just going to set things up, get the fry pan going, and I'll show you my cooking, and then we'll do the taste test. This should be interesting. Okay, let's get cooking. So just had this heat a little while, so it's nice and warmish. First piece goes on, very small. Next piece goes on, very small. So let's put that on a plate. Yes, they are pathetically small, but after all, this is carp and I don't want to take any risk whatsoever. So, working through nicely. It doesn't look like I put enough oil on that actually. So, I'll quickly remedy that. Put just a drop on. Place everywhere, my wife will be pleased. Oh, and I'm breaking it up here as well. That's bad. Bad way. Bad. Okay, that's done. Keep it over here. I do want to make sure I cook it all the way through because I don't know what the consequence of not cooking carp properly is, but it's probably not good. Okay, I'm going to say that's done. I'm going to get that off onto a plate. Right, take that off. Okay, now for some salt and pepper. That's what we've got. So now for the taste test of these tiny little pieces. But I'm going to find out whether what they say is true. You can eat this neat and it tastes okay. Right, let's see, first piece. Oh, that's amazing. We had flake about 3 days ago and that tastes exactly the same. Okay, that is interesting. Really interesting. I can't believe that. That tastes like any other neutral fish. Well, I'll be. That is good. I could have that in a, I could eat that in a restaurant. That is good enough that it has a unusual taste. So the thing is, you can flavour it with anything. And I am surprised at how good that tastes. So, wow. So if you get rid of the blood meat, you go to the white meat, that tastes okay. Tell me if you have done this yourself. I would like others to experiment with this. If we could use this fish in any way for commercial purposes, just can you imagine what would happen? We might be able to actually take this, or start to remove this in larger quantities because it has some value. So what I'm going to do with the other fillet, I'm going to try something else with that and I'll let you know about how that goes. What I'd like to do is I'm going to have a look at some recipes and I'll post a link at the bottom of this video to a book, a recipe book. There's a free download which has a lot of carp recipes on it. I'm going to look for a few more, but I do have one book that's been produced, I think it was by the South Australian government, and it is pretty good. But I'm eating this without anything other than salt and pepper, and it was pretty darn good. So I got to say, for me, that was a win. Anyway, if you've cooked carp before, if you've had soups, if you've had casseroles, if you've done something else to use more of the fish, if you've found a use for the blood pieces, let me know. And one other thing I'll tell you is that my father, he had a farm, and so he was able to. He had a lot of land, which was convenient. He used to grow large quantities of tomatoes and things like that, just for his own consumption, for the family consumption. One of the things that he would always do when I caught carp up there is he'd plant them probably about, I don't know, half a metre from where the plants are. So he'd bury them in between plants and tomatoes and things like that. And he would swear that those plants grew better. And I guess the Charlie Carp fertilizer has proven that it is a very, very useful fertilizer for plants. And I mean, there are fish emulsion fertilizers as well. But I'd really like to know what we can do as far as eating is concerned. So let me know. And if you like this video, please put a like on there and subscribe to the rest of my videos on how to catch fish.